So I have taken my trowel off the stand and I've drawn out my back and front basic bodice. So I'm just going to really note down what I need to do. So number one is I'm going to draw the seam lines. Then I'm going to do the collar. Then I'm going to do a hip extension. And then finally I'm going to do the sleeves. And that's it. So for my seam lines, I moved slightly out from my dart. So it's 1 centimeter to that side. And I'm going to draw them in green so you can see better. Then it goes here and then it comes slightly in. And I'm also, of course, I'm going to make this dart. I made it 1 centimeter bigger, so I'm just going to extend this dart a bit. And then draw in my line. And I think it needs to be at right angles to my waist, because that's always nice and balanced. And that's the sort of thing that you then check on paper, but that's what's nice working on flat. You can make sure everything is perfectly balanced, because sometimes if you're working on the stand, you go slightly wonky. So putting it back on paper is a nice way of checking it. Okay, and then of course it's going to be extended into the skirt later, but I'm just going to put 1 notch on already, and that's my line, just making sure it's right angles, which is... Okay, so that's my first seam line. Then I got rid of the side seam and I moved 3.5 centimeters in. So, which is like this. I'm staying parallel to the side seam. Okay, that's 1 notch. And then this I'm going to join to here later on. I cut it up, and then the same with the back. 2.5, 3 centimeters. And then it's going to have a back notch. Then on my back, so again I'm 1 centimeter away from my original line. Double check, so the front was 6. I need to make sure I make it 6 as well, so I match. And then we join the line more or less, and again I'm going to take another centimeter out. The waist dart, so it was 1 centimeter on the fold, so altogether it's 2 centimeters. I made the whole garment 2 centimeters bigger, and I'm going to get rid of these darts as I'm putting my shaping seams in. So this I'm actually going to do through the back seam, while my front one has gone. So you can see that the back shaping seam actually moves through the middle of the seam, while this moves slightly more to the center front. So that's my seam line done, and then as I'm going down, I'm going to extend them. Next, I'm going to put the collar in. So I draw my button stand in, And my button set is quite wide, 3.5 centimeters. 0.5. So that's my plastic stand. Then I'm going to measure down to see where my break line was on the center front, and it was on the 10 centimeters. And I'm going to now start drawing in the collar. I'm going to use the pattern cutting version of just drawing in the basic reverse color, but we're making sure I sort of keep to these measurements. And the collar on the images, it's quite flat and wide. It's not that tight fitting, so I'm gonna make I'm gonna start drawing a collar, and I'm gonna make it quite flat. So first of all, I'm gonna extend my shoulder, and that's gonna be my fall line. So I'm gonna connect that to my break point, which is roughly here. Okay, and then that's my break line, and this is how my collar is gonna roll, so it goes a bit closer. And then I need to extend my break line into the back, so I get my half back measurement, which on my basic bodice, which is why it's nice to always work with the same color, is 7.5. So I'm gonna extend it by 7.5. So this is my center back. And I'm gonna draw in some shaping, and this shaping is then gonna go back to my folder. So that's it's quite a straightforward construction, which is always the same. And once I've made it, I need to actually check how it fits. Next thing I'm gonna do is draw in the height of my collar. So that's double my fold line. So I think it's gonna be similar to the height of my pocket. And I think it's gonna be around 4 to 5 centimeters. I'm gonna go with 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters. Let's do 4.5, so altogether 9 centimeters. So this is your center back. And this is going to be my collar. So what you can do, because that's your fold line, so you can actually draw in your collar first of all. So my collar looks, I know it's going to be roughly 3 centimeters from here, and then at the top it's going to be still 3 centimeters. So my collar is going to look, I'm just going to measure, this is 3 centimeters from the top. So my collar is going to be roughly, it's going to look, I think it's behind. And you need to start, it's more shallow than 90 degrees, the bottom angle. In this I made roughly 2.5 centimeters in. By 3. Actually, I'm going to make it 3 by 3, and the angle this time is less than 90 degrees, and then it sort of connects to my center back. So this is how I want my collar to look, and then I can transfer that on my fold line to the other side. So on a right angle, I'm going to go through it. 7.5, 7.5. So that's going to be my collar outline. And 5. So this is how my collar will end up looking. Then the next thing I need to do is draw in my stand. So for my center back line, I'm actually gonna draw the height of my stand, which I'm gonna sort of just go for a basic stand. This is 2.5 centimeters. So I'm gonna draw that in, and that is gonna go to. It's gonna stay roughly parallel, and it's gonna go from my center back and then join the line of my neck. And I'm actually gonna cut this, smooth this out a bit to get a nicer line. So it starts at the right angles always, and then it just joins the neck in a really nice smooth curve. Then this is gonna be your back. But this means I need to then take off the 1 centimeter off my center back as I'm doing it. So remember, otherwise I end up with a back which is tighter in the front. So just double checking it's gonna bit bigger, and to redo the curve until as little as possible. So I'm gonna try to do like that. So it stays 7.5. Now I'm nearly done. So this is, I'm gonna use some blue pen again so you can see the stand. And so that's my stand. Okay, and then this is going to be my the grown-on collar, so the shawl collar, and then the second one, the shape I want is about 8 centimeters. So I then need to take these 3 pieces apart. So I've got a notch here, and then I will probably notch it here as well. So I'm gonna cut it, trace it all apart, take it apart, add seam allowance, and that's my basic ruler color. So the last thing I'm gonna do now, so I've done my collar, then I'm gonna do my hip extension. And probably once I've done that, I'm gonna make another draft and put it together, do a half sample, and then do my sleeve once I know everything is working. So now I need to extend it into the hip. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I put so much shaping in it, the line is going to be, actually I can probably show you on this one. It's a really, I cut it apart. Because then you can see it's really shaped, how much shaping is actually in it. So you can see how it comes in and out. Okay, so what I need to do on my paper pattern as well is I'm going to extend my seam line. gonna cut it apart. What I'm gonna do first is actually label it so I can remember. So that's the front, and it's the center. The front, side, back side, back center. And this is a fold. So it's always, as you're working, just mark it. What I sometimes do, if I want to keep my original pattern intact, is actually always trace. So you end up with a series of patterns, but now I'm going to just cut it. So this is now your front and your back, and which is why you have two fronts, and that's why you need your notches. So now I want to quickly measure how long I made the extension at the for the hip, and I can see my original line is about 1 centimeter down. So I've extended it by 20 centimeters. And at the waist it's 10, and then here the bottom of it is actually 15. So it's 50% bigger. So what I need to do is extend it. And this is where it's always good to double check what you're doing, because this is more than 10 centimeters. So this is actually 12 and a half. So what I'm going to do is take 2.5 centimeters up there. And that's why it's always important with drafting, is to double check as you're doing it, because in the paper you can easily change it once you're done in fabric. It's a few hours work you've destroyed. So I'm just gonna quickly recut it. Tape it. A lot of pattern cutting is trial and error. That's the whole point of pattern cutting. But on paper, on trial, you work out how it actually looks and what's wrong, rather than making up in fabric and then realizing, bugger, that's not supposed to be that. Okay, so I just retaped it. So it was 30 seconds instead of 20 minutes on fabric. So I set, so that's my new line. So I'm going to just cross this out so I know. I want to extend it. So it's now 10 perfectly, and I want it to go to up to 15 at the bottom. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just get some paper. And you tape it. And I'm just going to show you how to do one of the seams, because they all work the same way. Okay, so I've extended my seam. I said it was 20 centimeters long, so I'm going to draw it 20 centimeters. And then I need to extend it by 5. So what you need to do as well is actually measure how long it is here, because it's probably gonna go slightly, just curve it slightly as you work. And it might be either a straight line or it might be a slightly curved line. But you need a right angle where your seam is. So I'm going to curve that line and then do the same on the other side. So now I'm gonna extend that by 5 centimeters as well. I'm gonna double check that it is 5 centimeters. So that is 15 and that's just over 10. So yeah, I'm gonna do the same here. So again, checking that I'm 20 centimeters down. And then I'm going to extend it. And then draw like I want the line to be really nice and smooth. So the joint at the hip. And then I just need to double check how high it is now. I've gone up 0.5 centimeter. Do the same at the back. Okay, so I've drawn in my lines. So this is now my front centerpiece. As you can see, it's getting put through the screen. And my front side. The last thing I want to do quickly is get rid of my darts because they can move into the seams. You can see I've still got my original dart here and here. So what I'm going to do is cut open the original one. And then move it across and tape it shut. So that's my bust-out finished, and now you can see the line is still quite nice and smooth. I might do a second notch at the top, and then I'm actually gonna get rid of this dart as well through the side later on, but it's going to be the same principle for all the different shaping lines. So I'm going to copy them all and then make a second trowel and have a look how it looks. Thanks for watching. In the next video, we're going to look at the finished half trowel and also look at how we can improve it. So click on the link for part 4. Thank you.